I got no opening statement, so just a water guy. I mean, Brandon Graham is always welcome in Philadelphia. Obviously, when I think about what he's done for us as a player, as a person, and then last year, even when he came back, and the versatility that he showed, coming in the end of the year and reducing inside and playing defensive tackle, just an all-time Eagles great, and future Eagles Hall of Famer. Well, we usually take 7 or 8 guys to camp. We only have 3 on the roster right now, so definitely think we'll have to address it. It's a priority position for us, and we'll just kind of try to manage our own guys, free agency, and the draft to bring the best outcome possible that we can. It always starts up front for us in Philadelphia. I think that Jake has been a tremendous kicker for us since we got him off the practice squad in Cincinnati in 2017. Tremendously clutch. Have a lot of confidence in him as a player, as a kicker, as a person, a captain on our team, and continue to believe in him as our place kicker. I think the more people you interview, just like when you go through this, when you watch a lot of players, it's easy to compare all those guys, And so for us, casting a wide net, being able to hear everyone's vision, have them articulate to us how it would fit our players, because it's always about our players. With Sean, it was just the system of play that he wanted to run, how he's going to articulate it, how he was going to do that with all of our players was really exciting. I think he's got a tremendous future, and we got to help him by bringing good players. Yeah, obviously we have our way of interviewing people. We've interviewed coordinators here a little bit over the last couple of years. Been fortunate to have success and guys leave, and obviously made some decisions here that put us in position to interview some coordinators, and feel like we have a really good process led by Coach Sirianni on the offense coordinator. He'd probably be the right person to ask the question about interviewing. A hugely important position for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think any team in the history of the NFL has benefited more from the backup quarterback position of the Philadelphia Eagles. My bad. I think that when you look at Q and Coop leading that group, 2 All-Pro players, guys who want to be part of Philadelphia Eagles for a long time. Really, Coop, he can play anything. He can play outside corner. He can play nickel. He can play at an All-Pro level anywhere. So having him gives you some flexibility. And so, we'll go into the offseason and looking to add to that position. Adore did a really nice job for us last year. And it got better throughout the course of the year. And so just like any other position, he's a free agent. And we'll just kind of see how the offseason plays out. Elite player at the nickel position. And so when you have someone who's elite at something and you move him, he could be elite as an outside corner too. But when he's able to affect the run game, he's able to affect the pass game, the screen game from there, and you just see the difference that he makes in that role. And then when he plays outside, very little separation. He's obviously got size, speed, unique athletic ability. I joke he could be an elite receiver. He could probably be an elite quarterback too. I've seen him throw the ball too. So just an elite athlete with elite character, and just happy he's a Philadelphia Eagle. Yeah, you always try to make decisions in calm times. We do the same thing in the draft. We have a value for, every player on the roster so that we don't get sideswiped on anything, that we understand what we would do. That doesn't mean we would trade them. But at the same time, we got to be open to listen on everything that we do here. That's what a lot of this week's about. That's what a lot of the first couple weeks of free agency is about. That doesn't mean there'll necessarily be action, but you got to be willing to listen. We'll do that during the draft as well, and decide what's the best for the Philadelphia Eagles. At the end of the day, everything we do is what's best for the Philadelphia Eagles, so that we can try to compete and hopefully win another championship. Yeah, tremendous player in person for the Philadelphia Eagles. Really glad we were able to figure it out and bring him back to Philadelphia this year and for this season, and tremendously productive for us. Just a huge asset for our offense to have him on our football team. Again, we got to put the whole puzzle together. And so to sit here, we got a lot of other free agents too, and say, hey, we're definitely going to get this guy back. When we get this late, obviously the market dictates a lot of that as well. But, we'll certainly sit down with his agent here over the next couple of days and have a conversation. Very appreciative of Dallas Goedert.
Hey man, how are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. How you doing?
Doing good. So when we're in a position like this in the offseason and you have to face some hard decisions of who's staying and who's going, what are some priorities for the Philadelphia Eagles right now?
Yeah, I think you got to go back to how you want to build the team first and foremost. What is your priorities in building the team? Because when we have this many players coming up for second contracts on their rookie deals, it's going to be hard for us to keep all of them. The good news is we have a compensatory system where we can get some draft picks back in the future for some of these guys who've meant so much to us if we can't sign everyone. But you got to make priorities, and you can't only do that by playing favorites. You got to also do it by your vision of how you build the team. And so we'll try to be pretty clear about our vision to the extent that we can, and get those guys back and continue to build on top of that. I think it's staying true to your board and making sure that at every position that you're grading them clearly based on their value in the league, what kind of players they are. They're going to be in the league that you project them to be. Obviously, you can't have any guarantees on that. And you stack the board, and then you stack it horizontally and vertically. And as you get into the draft, you look where you are, and then you have those conversations about this or that at every position, including quarterback. Well, he's always continuing to improve work ethic, looking for ways, incremental ways to get better. This system, we think, is going to be really good for him as well as a lot of our other players. He's always looking for a system of play, and we think that we have that. And so just really excited to get him back in the spring and get the reps and continue to learn the principles that Sean's looking to bring to our offense and go from there. I think that we always look 1 year out, and we always look with optimism, and I think last year at this time there was probably optimism about this draft and where this draft was going and what it could be. You got to go into each draft understanding the value of the players that are in that particular draft, and if the value changes at a certain point in time, then then I think that at the end of the day, then you can make decisions based on that. Yeah, I think you left out Will there too. I think that those three guys have complementary skill sets, really talented players. Really excited to see what they're going to be able to do in 2026, and feel really confident that they're going to be put in great position to succeed. I was just laughing because I don't think I used guarantee. I think it was the other guy who's going to get hit with that. But Is precipitate what happens when it rains? Is I don't understand. Yeah, it is. I think that at the end of the day, there's a lot of conversations in the off season about players on your team, on other teams. That's really the job. That's the fun part about the off season is the opportunities to improve your team, the opportunities to make trades. But at the end of the day, again, we're trying to get better, and it's hard to do that if you're just subtracting great players. We'll do whatever's in the best interest of our team to be better for this year and going forward. Anything that puts us in position that we think to potentially win another championship. So every decision will be made with that, no matter who the player is. I think obviously we have a free agent at that position, and a guy that we drafted, a guy that we think is a really good player for sure, and unbelievable character. And so, all those decisions here will be made in the next couple of weeks.
What is your perspective of development for the course of the last few years, the value of
Yeah, really proud of Reed, undrafted free agent, and played in 2 Super Bowls, 4 years, 4 playoff appearances. Was a captain this year for our team. Tremendous player, tremendous person. And that's how I feel about Reed. I think that for us, that's probably going to be hard to do. We got a lot of free agents. We're trying to keep a lot of guys together. I think the best way to do that is probably with extensions as opposed to 1-year deals. Well, John's a free agent. I think we have a couple young players behind him who have shown flashes of a skill set that we're looking for. And we got to continue to build that room. And so we'll have opportunities again in free agency and the draft to look at that position and continue to build on it. Well, you certainly see his fit with Coach Fangio and our defense, which a lot of times when you're talking about free agency is a big part of free agency. How's this guy going to fit into our defense? So you see that there. You've been with the guy. He's got tremendous character, tremendous work ethic. And then all the things that you're doing, you're trying to balance the other factors that go along with that to try to come down with the value. And, you work with everything just like we're here. We're part of being here. Part of the benefit of being here is the medical information, We get in situations where we get really excited, and then a week from now, we'll have some medical information that will change some of the evaluation. So that's always part of the decision making. Seems like a local. Not a lot of. I don't know that you can do anything about it. I don't know you can do anything. Not that I don't like seeing you guys. Again. I don't know. I think that, when you draft guys and you see them have success, you want to keep them around. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Yeah. I don't know. I can't speak at the ownership level for what they're looking for and who's been hired. I don't know that there's been a tremendous amount of change at the GM level. But, when you talk about those guys and working with those guys and, some of those guys I haven't seen yet. So really excited to see those guys and just proud of them. And it's fun. I think that's part of legacy. I think at this point, legacy is continuing to win at a high level, and then seeing people you care about get jobs that they've dreamed of. And so when you say that, and I'm kind of jealous that I wasn't along the row hanging with them while they were doing that. Bob gave me a late tea time. Is that what it late tea time? Yeah. Well, I consider all those guys friends, and just. But at the same time, when we play them, I hope we kick their ass.
All right. Thanks, folks.
What was the first part? Easy bet. Yeah, I think that that's another guy, obviously, that you draft, you develop, tremendous character, and continues to get better. So that's a group of a lot of players that we have tremendous confidence in, and the puzzle is trying to keep as many of them together as we possibly can.
All right, thanks.
Thank you,
Now
guys.
You guys got 56.
As far as evaluating them, yeah, I mean that you go through the process of the interview and you have different questions that you ask them to be able to take themselves through it. Like we don't leave anything to chance. Like we're going to go through our process and hey, how are you going to call this situation? How are you thinking about this situation? All right, what you ask them game plan scenarios from games that they've been around. So, there's a lot of different ways to do that. You know, obviously I won't get into every way that I do that in an interview, but you go through a process if I'm hiring a wide receiver coach, if I'm hiring a coordinator, whatever that is, you go through a process to see if you feel like they're going to be good at doing that personal job. Yeah, you always want to, make sure that when you're on the verge of hiring somebody, or or in a final evaluation portion, you're bringing a couple guys back in. You want to reach out to different guys, and guys that they've worked with, guys that they've played with, guys that they've coached. You know, that's what you would expect. That's what to do for you, and you go through a job interview. It's very similar, and so you're looking for common themes, and it was a common theme of everyone spoke very similar about Sean, and you can imagine that those were glowing, reviews, which is one of the reasons. Obviously, we hired him because we thought he was, we got to the phone call situations where we're kind of going through that, and everyone had great things to say about him, the person he is, the coach he is, the football mind that he is, and so really excited about that. Yeah, again, there will be some things that has there's a lot of steps to take place before we know exactly what version of this offense is going to be. But obviously, Sean comes from a family of coaches and things that he's done that we really respect, that we know is tough to defend. We know we've done a lot of good things here as well, as far as some of the things we've done that's hard to defend. So being able to sprinkle some of that in. And a lot will be, you got to go through the process with your players to get to all those answers again. And you're constantly going to try to get to it, get to where you will be by the end of the season. But really, it's always important at the end of the day that we're able to run the football, be able to do play action off of that, play physical, play with relentless effort, play with great detail, play together. Those will be all things that we're looking to do. Yeah, that's, my experience with great football players is you come in and you're like, hey, Saquon, we're gonna run inside zone. Yeah, he's gonna be really good at it. Hey, we're gonna run gap schemes. He's gonna be really good at it. Hey, we're gonna run wide zone. He's gonna be really good at it. Hey, we're gonna run the option. He's gonna be really good at it. Hey, we're gonna split you out wide. He's just a great football player. And so guys that are great football players can fit into a lot of different offenses. And Saquon, regardless of the schemes, I think you saw that, in some of the things that we've done, like he's been highly productive in many of the schemes that, whether it's gap schemes, whether it's inside zones, whether it's, pin and pulls, whether it's toss cracks. Every one of these things, I'm picturing him breaking a big run off on that. And so that's a common theme with good football players. They can fit into a lot of different schemes. So I believe he'll be, exceptional at that. Yeah, I think you're constantly evolving in everything. That's why the communication between coaching staff, front office is so important. Of, hey, here's what we're looking for. You do that every year. That's one of the things that I think Howie and I do a really good job of. Hey, here's what we're thinking. Some of the things that we're thinking, and here's some of the attributes that this player needs to be able to do that. And so, yeah, I think it's always important that tight ends are able to create mismatches in the pass game versus some of the different guys that they get in the inside coverages. It's been our case in the pass game that they're great yards after catch guys. I think you've seen that with Dallas of how phenomenal he is with the ball in his hands and how difficult he is to bring down. And then being able to be effective in the run game. We've been in the top 10 or top 5 in rushing, obviously, in all the years, but this year. And it's important that they're highly involved in that and being able to block tough matchups with the defensive ends or linebackers or whoever it may be.
Why was Chris Cooper the right fit as the offensive line?
Yeah, again, you go through, you're able to go through and talk to all these different guys and figure out who's best for you. And I think as we talk to guys, we're really impressed by Chris and the things that he's done as a player, as a coach, and his knowledge on the game, his knowledge on a system that some of the things that we're going to do from that system, because there's a lot of intricacies within that, and so. Just excited about everything that he'll bring. It's fun. It's always important for your position coaches to help guys develop fundamentally. That's always something I'm looking for with position coaches. Can this guy help our guys get better fundamentally? Can this guy add to our scheme? Can this guy hold people accountable? Can this guy, fit in and be a good team player within the staff, because it's so important that we're together as a staff. And I think the answer, whenever we bring somebody in, we believe that with that group of guys that we've brought in, and Chris is no different. Yeah, I think Saquon. I think we saw the athletic ability, the vision, everything with Saquon that we saw, when we were watching him with the Giants, or what we saw in 2024. And so, listen, we as a whole, we didn't reach our ultimate goal of being able to be at the top of the mountain. Only one team was able to do that this year, and so we all have this thing that we want to get back and prove ourselves again. That's what you have to do in this league, right? You don't win. You get back up and you try to prove yourself again. And I think that's everybody's mindset on this team. I'm excited about when these guys get back into the building, and I know we're going to feel that of like that. Just hey, we're hungry for more. And Saquon's no different. I think that we're all going to feel that way. I'm sorry. You always want the guys that you want to try to bring back as many guys as you possibly can. As far as, having good football players, good people around. And so obviously when you ask me this question, whether it be about Josh Sweat or whoever it may be, you always want your guys back. I think I've answered it pretty much the same way all the time. You don't win as many games as we've won together, and especially a guy like BG, and say, no. I mean, I think that's not going to say it's a ridiculous question, but of course you want guys back like that. And so I love the guys on our football team. Like I said, we've been through the highest of highs. We've been through lows together. And that's when you come together as a football team and as people, when you're going through the ups and downs together. And so, I love our team, and you name the guy, and I'm going to say, yeah, I want him back. I think Christian is a phenomenal football coach that has contributed to a lot of our player development throughout the last 2 years that he's been here, and to a lot of success that we've had through this and these last 2 years. And so I think the world of him and wish him the best, exception of 2 games every year. Ooh, no. Yeah. No, I think he continually gets better. I think you saw him have a great year this year. And, even when a guy prepares not to have as good a year, like you're always looking at it like, is this arrow on the rise? Is this arrow on the fall? Like, and even if a guy doesn't have his best year, he still can be on the rise. Well, I think we saw Devonta have a great year, and I think you just continue to see him play better and better. And I think that's a tribute to who he is. Guys that are tough, that love football, that are smart football players, and they're talented, have a tendency to reach their ceiling, and God willing. And I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing him continue to get better. You're seeing him continue to do these things and make plays only that he can make on the football field. And so I just think you continue to see him on the rise, and excited about what he'll look like in this new offense that we'll have. Yeah, I mean, that's something that how many did you have this year? Yeah, you're trying to get your guys as many targets as you possibly can that are big time playmakers. I think that's kind of been questions that you guys have asked me is like, hey, how come this guy didn't get as many targets and how come he got too many targets and there's only one football. And so we understand that that's part of our job, that if Devontae has 112 or 140, somebody else is going to have a little bit less. Then it's going to be why did he get more targets? And so we understand that's kind of the flow of how it goes. And you know how like last year Smitty was highly productive, but we ran 24, pardon me. We ran the crap out of the ball, right? And so I think it just all depends. Obviously, we'll do whatever we need to do to try to win each game. Getting Devontae Smith the ball and getting him targets is always going to be important as long as he's an Eagle to the success of our football team. And so, you know, it's just the way the season goes, the way the flow of a game goes. You know, it's important that he's seeing targets every game because he does good things when he gets those things. So I don't ever want to say, hey, this is the number. He needs to have this many targets. He needs to be able to affect the game each game, and that number can change each game each year based off of that.
Well, Christian Parker.
Yeah, I think there's some things that teams did this year that they did a good job of being able to stop it. And we got to get back to being able to. We either have to get back to being able to be as dominant as we were at it, or we find new avenues to be able to convert on third down or in the red zone. And so you know, that's the fun part about offseason is to be able to go through those processes. You go through them during the season as well. I think you saw us do some cool things off of it. And you still want to be able to do that. Hey, here you're doing that with your entire offense. Hey, here this play's coming. Just kidding, we're running this play. And that's what you're constantly trying to do to put seeds of doubt within the defense. And this play has that ability. And you know we have to. That it took a little bit of step back, and we got to coach it better. We got to execute it better. And you know, looking forward to seeing where that goes in the future.
With Christian Parker gone, how do you?
I get you, Jeff.
How do you think Joe Casper will fill that role? And do you see as someone who has a similar trajectory?
Yeah, just really intelligent guys that love football, that are good football coaches, that help players, you know, become the best versions of themselves. So, you know, I wish you were able to sit in there with me when I'm having an exit interview with a player and be able to let them, you know, hear them what they say about their coaches. You know, both guys, their players, you know, rave about them. And you know, that's my job, to be able to bring in coaches that are great coaches. You know, you're a product of the people that you have around you, both players and coaches, as a head coach. And so really happy with the way those guys have worked together. Look forward to, you know, Joe's relationship with Mike and of how we move forward in that room. But just have the utmost respect for both those guys. Say that one more time, John.
What do you think about the shift, the expectation that
You know what? I guess I didn't really have a feel like I'm like, oh, I felt this way or I felt that way. You know, I mean, there's a lot of different things that are proposed and that come up within a year, and your job as a coach is to be able to adapt to the rule. You know, whether that's the kickoff rule that we had to adapt to this year, that's your job as coach to figure that out. And but you never know what that's going to be until you get to it, right? Because there's always speculation one way or the other on a lot of different things. But, you know, there's things that you don't have to cross that bridge until you get there, and we're not there quite yet. So, you know, we'll see. Yeah. Yeah, man. There you go. How was he as a teacher? He's a good teacher. I know that. Yeah, just a lot of good people there that helped me become, you know, be where I am today. And, you know, it starts right there with my family and where I grew up and my friends and my loved ones there. And so really indebted to that part of the country. All right, baby.